man, we had people quitting. We had technicians that I had been recruiting for 2 years quit. Finally got them on our team and they were happy and things were going well. And then I'm changing the process. And so I think just the fact of knowing that I was at kind of rock bottom and getting through this was invigorating to me because I'm like, this is where most people quit. This is where most people turn around. This is where most people back up. And I'm not quitting.
Welcome back to BodyShop Leaders, the show where we spotlight the people shaping the future of the collision repair industry. I'm your host, Daniel Burkholder. Today's guest is someone who embodies leadership, innovation, and the kind of grit that defines this industry. Ken Hunnel started in the parts department back in 2001 and worked his way up to managing multi-million-dollar operations, now owning multiple shops across 2 states, one in Enid, Oklahoma, one in Hutchinson, Kansas, and now he's building a brand new facility in Salina. Ken is creating what he calls first-class auto repair. His journey is packed with lessons on process, leadership, culture, and the future of this industry. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. I've listened to the podcast and thoroughly enjoy it. So
Excellent.
well
Well, I
done.
appreciate you taking the time to give like this back into the industry. Let's just jump right in, Ken. You started in the parts department and eventually became a multi-shop owner. When you look back, what moment or mindset shifted your career from just that employee to being a leader?
I'm not like a lot of people that have maybe grown up in the industry or had a passion or desire to get into the industry. I started my professional life I was a service driver for a dealership and worked up to being a mechanic for a little while. Not a great mechanic, but an okay. I could change out parts pretty good. And then I worked on train cars for a while. And really, as a young man, I was just looking for an opportunity where I could advance. And so I was very thankful that my first experience at Autocraft Collision Repair, which has now been bought and sold a couple of times, but very fortunate that when I did a good job, they recognized that, and then I moved up to writing estimates. Once I kind of realized that this was a vehicle for me, it really just felt like I could advance. What I think also really helped a lot was even when I was a parts person, parts is a very, very important role. Even then, I just owned that role. Like, how could I be better at this and do this to the best of my ability, which I think provided credibility to me as I moved up. They knew that I cared about what I was doing. They knew I wanted to do a good job and uphold and improve my role there. And so that gave me an opportunity to advance. And then I had some credibility that I kind of knew what I was doing. Fortunately, they let me write estimates for a year. And then when they opened a new store, they gave me an opportunity to manage that store. I had a lot of maturing to do. I'm very fortunate from a blessing perspective that didn't work out long term, but the humbling of needing to make a temporary shift gave me a lot of opportunity. And I just really felt like owning my role is the leadership thing that I didn't recognize at the time was a leadership component.
Very well said. Just taking that role and owning it, running it like it's your own, that is true leadership. Ken, you've been known as a team builder early in your career. What did you learn about people that shaped how you lead today?
Well, it's taken a long time. I'm 50 years old, and I think and my wife might argue this, but I've really learned how to listen. It's a very difficult skill. It shouldn't be, but a lot of people struggle with it. They're focused on what they want to say, not necessarily what is this person saying to you, or what are they not saying? What are they trying to say, but they're trying to be nice? Maybe they're concerned about your feelings or whatever that looks like. And so learning how to listen was a big deal. And then learning from other leaders was huge. Putting good things in my head. When I first managed the shop, I didn't do great. I remember literally yelling at a technician in the middle of the shop because that's what I had seen from the manager that I had learned from before. So when I was let go of that position at that company and I got into a multi-level marketing company, I learned a lot about leadership and I learned that I didn't know everything I thought I knew. In his late 20s, I felt like I knew everything and I didn't need to learn anything. And I'd had some success at that point, so that just fueled that. And I always go back to that humbling really showed me that there was a lot I didn't know. I needed to listen to smart people and then just continually get better. And now a lot of times I replay almost every conversation that I have with. So if I have a difficult, even sometimes a very productive conversation, I may replay that in my head of how could I have responded to that better, or I remember in this conversation there was this tension point and I don't think that I clarified that. And so not being afraid to go back to that to say, hey, we need to make sure this is ironed out. We need to make sure that we're on the same page and that I don't want to have this difficult conversation with you, but I'm having this difficult conversation with you because it's what we need as a team and that's what makes us better. And then I also need to listen to their point of view in regards to that, which I think is just speaks to the team. I mean, I love the team concept. I love the team mindset, but we often see, Andy Reid and Travis Kelce kind of get into it a little bit in a game in the heat of the battle. And I can relate to that. Like as a team, we're not always going to be completely on the same page and everything's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. But there's going to be some tension, and that's okay as long as it's a healthy tension and we're improving to get better. But I think the heart of it is either I'm actively listening, or my managers are actively, our head coaches are actively listening, or are they just, well, this is my point and I'm going to make sure that my point's said. That in my mind hinders the growth of the team. People want to be a part of something, but they also want to be heard and know how they can help improve it.
Very well said. One of the big takeaways that I hear is the ability to listen, whether that's to your own team or whether that's to people that have much greater experience than we have. That ability to truly listen is very valuable in becoming a leader.
For customers too. I always talk with my team about they don't speak our language. They may not be saying exactly what we want to hear, or guess what? They might not be saying it the way that makes sense to us, but we're not fully listening to what they are saying, which is hard. And it's something that most people don't do well. I can literally be outside a conversation and see two people that aren't listening to each other. And they're saying the same thing. They're just saying it in a different, not literally a different language, but a customer's language to our language is different. And we have to be a translator to decipher that. And it certainly applies in a team perspective as well of like, well, there's something deeper there, and our responsibility, our opportunity is to feel something there. I can hear something in your tone of voice. I can hear something in your body language. There's something there, and if it goes unsaid, we just wasted our time.
Excellent. Very good points, Ken, there. I'd like to move on to my next question. Is you helped grow All Angles from one shop to a multi-location MSO with dramatic improvements in cycle times, customer satisfaction. What was the biggest change that you made that told you this works and we're really onto something?
I want to be clear that I'm not that smart. So first of all, I appreciate what you said in the opening of this podcast, but I don't think of myself in that light, and I really appreciate what you're saying and building me up. I think just listening to smart people certainly was helpful. There were, at that time, I feel like the paint manufacturers still do some of it. I don't see it as much, but they were really talking about the lean processing and the lean production, and that made a lot of sense. Fortunately, I was at a great organization with All Angles, and the owner there trusted me. We brought in some consultants to really help us have a better structured plan to implement, which I think we may get into a little bit more. But I feel like the biggest thing when I felt like we were onto something, it was because of a book I had read. The book is called The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. It's a really easy read. I don't read a lot, and we've established my intelligence factor. So it's a very easy read, but it talks about this parable about this guy named Ordinary, and when he has this dream and some of the things that he goes through in this dream. And one of the things that he goes through is called the Valley of Giants. I always referred to it as the Valley of Death. But as we were really getting into our full process change, man, we had people quitting. We had technicians that I had been recruiting for 2 years quit. Finally got them on our team and they were happy and things were going well, and then I'm changing the process. And so I think just the fact of knowing that I was at kind of rock bottom and getting through this was invigorating to me because I'm like, this is where most people quit. This is where most people turn around. This is where most people back up. And I'm not quitting. I believe in this. I believe that this is going to work. I've been looking at this for 2 years in how to get it going and what to do. And now we have some support with consultants to also help us bridge this gap. But I think it was the deep pain of the change as we were really deep into the pain of change. And then just refer to that book of like, this is where most people turn and go back. They're not willing to go through the pain of this. I know we're getting somewhere.
That's amazing. Do you mind just giving us the name of the book and the author again?
Yeah, it's The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. It's a Christian-based book and has some themes there, but it's very simple. It talks about just these different things that people kind of go through as they have a dream or a vision of what they want to do. And like I said, it's a simple read, but it's a good one and was impactful for me.
Appreciate that. I'm always looking for book recommendations, so I will make sure I
Yeah,
add that to my cart. Very well said. Often when we're at that hardest point, most people turn back. You've pioneered segmented workflow and redesigning front office communication so customers never felt left in the dark. What drove you to rethink how a shop should run? And I feel like maybe you answered that question a little bit already, Ken, but if we could just dig deeper into that.
yeah. For a lot of people, when I say I've never done body work or never done paint work, they get the big eyes and they're like, what do you mean? You own two businesses and you can't do it? Well, I know when it's done right, and I know when it's not done right, and I know when someone's trying to blow smoke up my butt. And I feel like that's also been an advantage. Never being a tech and then fully understanding how much the admin team needs to serve the production team. The number one thing that we sell in every shop is labor. We certainly sell parts, but we have a kind of a fixed margin there. But the biggest thing that we sell is labor. And so our responsibility and our role as an admin team is to truly serve that team, to make sure that they have hands on cars and that they have stuff to work. Most technicians don't come in and want to not work. I think they want to work. It's just the inefficiencies that have been created administratively that get dumped on the technician in some environments. So I think never being a tech was actually a blessing, although it certainly created its own challenges to overcome. Understanding how much the admin team serves, and then really just listening to smart people of who's doing it. So the consultants came in and we really just started implementing some of those things. And I sought out shops that were operating in the same system. One shop, I have a ton of respect for them, and they've been very valuable to me and my business and helping me to see where that next level is and can be. But it took like 2 years for me to get in for an opportunity to talk to the owner. And I just had to stay consistent and then really kind of prove myself that I wasn't just some other person that just wanted to see a really cool shop. I legitimately wanted to take those things back and implement. And so I think it was a blessing that I didn't know what to do as a tech. And then I feel like it was also just really understanding how much the admin team needs to serve the production team. The production team wants to get cars done.
Very well said. I like that point that you made about the admins team. That team is there to serve the production team. I think if a guy can keep that picture in mind, it'll help so much in that process.
It does. I mean, it takes a while to find the right person that has that mindset. But that's what I see, with two locations where I see where one's really dialed in and getting it. First of all, they're more experienced and have a better evolved team. But I think that we're missing a little bit of that service piece as an environment at the other location.
Very valuable insights. Ken, I believe I might have a quote here from you, and hopefully you can tell me if it's accurate or not. But you've said that you won't settle for mediocre. What does accountability look like inside your shops, and how do you build a culture where people rise to that standard instead of pushing back against it?
Yeah, that quote is a ripoff of a quote of Nick Saban where Nick says, high achievers don't like mediocre, and mediocre people don't like high achievers because they make each other uncomfortable. A high achiever can't understand why a mediocre person is okay, and conversely, a mediocre person doesn't understand why a high achiever wants to do the best they possibly can. That's always been who I am and how I operate in majority of my life. It doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean I don't screw things up, because I certainly do. But I think just setting the standard and also modeling the standard. As Mike Jones would say, who you be, they will become. I can't expect anyone in my team to not accept mediocre if I'm willing to accept mediocre. So it's a lot of conversations. It's just a lot of sitting down one-on-one with someone to say, hey, here's the standard, here's the expectation, and you're not currently meeting it. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. It doesn't mean that I don't want what's best for you. Your role in this team, this is what's required of that. I can remember in Enid, we had a very skilled and talented painter that was just not on board. And we had to make the very difficult decision of making that change and going through the pain of making that change. But ultimately, what I'm thankful for is our team at the time was saying, hey, this guy doesn't fit. He's not doing what we need to do. It's not just you that's having some tension with this guy. We were all having tension with this guy. And despite the fact that he was a very capable and talented painter, we had to make a change. Everybody's watching that, right? Everybody sees what you're accepting and allowing of other people. And you can't hold anybody accountable if you're not holding everybody accountable. And that starts with yourself, myself.
That is excellent. It always starts with ourselves as the leaders. Appreciate that. So Ken, here's probably more of a tactical question. You've moved technicians to team-based pay systems and created weekly process-only meetings. How do these choices help create the high-performance teams you're known for?
I think the biggest thing is saying this is who we are. We've had guys that we've talked to that don't have interest in team pay. It's a non-negotiable. This is how we operate. I think that where a little bit of that can be is in some shops, we work next to someone that doesn't bring their best every day, or we work next to someone that's maybe mediocre and okay with mediocre. And so what technicians, I think, don't always trust is that we're not going to allow that, because what works well with the team is that we're a collective getting cars completed. And the collective is paid for getting cars completed, but because of the older traditional system, you as a technician might be a guy that really works hard towards the latter part of the week because you're trying to make your paycheck versus the guy that's steady, consistently moving cars through. So they've all worked next to that guy that's not doing anything on Monday and Tuesday, or maybe it's Friday, maybe payday Friday, he's coasting that day. And so they feel like, well, I'm going to be stuck with a guy that's not pulling their weight. And so we make sure that there's safeguards for them coming over and making that transition that says, hey, you're guaranteed. A lot of them now, we bring them in hourly, and then they get a commission bonus on top of that. So they can count on either this guaranteed salary base or hourly, and then the commission on the performance of the team helps a lot. The process only meetings were huge when we first implemented the segmented process, because I was looking at everything through my lens and I wasn't factoring in. We have so much knowledge and so many intelligent people in every shop. Every shop everywhere has some people that know this business in and out, front to back. And our role as leaders is to listen to it, like, hey, how can we get this better? And then it's just being consistent in that meeting. We recap the meeting before that says, hey, here's the things that we talked about. Can we put that to bed? Has that been resolved? Do we need to continue to talk about it? And then they see that change. And so they have, in my opinion, they have buy-in to being a part of that change. They're part of something. Like we put a different colored sticker on the key tag, or we're using different colored key tags for different companies, just little communication things that, what are we doing? You know, we've all heard the story about cutting the ends off the ham to put it in the pot. Well, what are those things that we're doing? So when we have someone new come in, we always make sure to let them know, hey, if you question some things, that's great. We love your new perspective because we want to see that from a different lens. And I think just being open to that. Right person, right seat. It's got to be the right person in the right seat. And we can never stop improving for each other and for our guests.
Excellent. I'm not even going to try to recap all of that, Ken. There's so much value, so much
Yeah,
value.
sorry.
No, there's so much value in there.
I don't know about that.
You hit on a couple different things that I feel like if shops would truly embrace that, it definitely would help their shops. Let's take a bit of a leap here. When you bought Enid Auto Body, what was the biggest mindset shift you had from going to managing someone else's shop to owning your own shop?
I think it was everyone can win, meaning the organization that I was in, it felt like it was just kind of constantly pinch and tighten and squeeze. And then as I became the owner, I recognized that there was opportunity for everyone to win, and win by compensation, win by PTO days, win by wearing our brand merchandise. So the environment there was, I want to be careful, but it just felt like it was squeeze and tighten, and we never had enough. We never quite had enough people. As I was overseeing all the locations, I was filling in for a manager being out, so we just didn't have the support to run it on a day-to-day basis. And then if we had someone that left or whatever else, we just kind of continually ran like our hair was on fire. And what I've fortunately very thankful to have a great mentor named Larry Baker, has been in this industry a long time, to help me a bunch. He just kind of said, hey, you got to hire people before you need them. And you as an owner are willing to work and do whatever you got to do, and you'll work 24/7, 365 if that's what you got to do to keep your baby afloat. But from an employee standpoint, they're not always going to be willing to do that. They'll do it for a little while. They might do it through a season, through a big hailstorm or something like that, but they're not going to do it all the time. And why should they? So add some people to make that manageable. And so we just administratively, we used to really be thin, and now we're continually looking at, if we find a good person that we can bring on, we're going to bring them on in the belief that we'll find more work to keep everybody going.
I like that. Yeah, and you're now building a brand new facility in Salina from the ground up. What excites you most about building something from scratch, and what does that shop represent for you?
It's cool. I mean, it's a lot of fun to lay it out. It's nerve-wracking to lay it out, and you always kind of want bigger, and bigger comes with a cost. But this place is going to be unbelievable. I'm just so pumped about it. It's air conditioned, just really nice equipment. We're in a great location in Salina. I think I'm most excited about just serving what I feel like is another underserved market. I think when we went to Enid, they had some decent shops. They still have some decent shops, but I didn't feel like they had anybody that was operating at the level that we do. We've recognized the same in Hutchinson and feel like we can bring that value to Salina. And the other thing that we do is our head coaches have the opportunity to become owners in our business. And so I'm excited to have another opportunity to help find another owner. The reason that I own the shops that I own is because I wanted to be an owner. And I am offering that same opportunity to our store leaders.
It's exciting. Very,
Yeah.
very well done. Ken, I heard you mention a couple times coaches. Is there some significance to that?
Yes, I'm being very diligent. We're
Yes.
changing our roles and the name of our roles. So we're not yet, but soon we'll rebrand our existing locations. So they're all going to have the Auto Body Team name. And to tie into that, we used to call them general managers. I'm doing my best to just keep moving forward, that our shop leader is a head coach. We want them to have that coaching mindset. We want them to really be coaching our teams. And then we're establishing other roles for, like, our quarterback. We're calling our sales manager a point guard. Our lead body technician is going to be our quarterback. We're just mixing teams and sports and everything else, but we're just using some of the best team names for our roles. And so we think like our damage analysis department is going to be our offensive line, because they're going to set things up. But we're even looking at, like, well, which side is offense and which side is more of a defensive type. We feel like once we've got it painted and we're starting to put it together, well, now we got to kind of go on defense, that we're making sure that we finish this thing up and they don't have to bring it back or anything silly like that. So just one of our guys in a meeting, we recently signed up with EOS, and so one of the meetings there, one of our guys said he was more of a head coach, and I was like, yeah, that's really more of the mentality that we need to have. So
That's fun. It sounds like you're having some fun with it.
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the future. So, with technology and OEM procedures and customer expectations changing so fast, where do you see the biggest opportunities and threats for shop owners over the next 5, 10 years?
That is a real thing, as you talk about regularly in your sessions that you have. Webinars that you have are very informative, and really appreciate that. I think that it's not going away. It's just, how do we use it to help us, help make our job easier? And then how are the insurance companies also using it to streamline their roles? I think we're still so early into it. I'm not exactly sure that any of us know what it'll completely look like, but it's a very obvious answer. But that seems to be the biggest thing. I think that there's the estimating piece for our front end and our preliminary estimates. I think it's a very helpful tool to get someone that has limited experience to be able to put something together, because I think that most people that come in the door, they don't necessarily, they've been trained to go get an estimate, but ultimately what they need to decide is, do I need to make a claim or not? And I think that those AI tools can help us determine that faster and closer. I think we're all seeing that the amount of collisions is going to continue to reduce with all the safety systems that are on there. And I think we're still going to have, parking lot stuff and ran into my garage and different things like that. But hopefully the fatality type of collisions are going to go away. And then just kind of preparing for what that's going to look like as that continues to change. I wish I know that AI is a real thing. I think that that's something I need to work on as far as looking more downstream as to where I really see that going, because as I've previously established, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I just kind of listen to smart people and look and see what they're doing and like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I should probably work on that.
You bet. Ken, I like to think of it this way. I actually want to be the dumbest person in the room, because it's all about the people that
100%.
I surround myself with. Because,
100%.
yeah, exactly. No, that's excellent. Ken, you've mentored teams, grown shops, and created opportunities for technicians. What does the next generation of leaders in this industry need to understand if they want to build what you're working at building?
I think believe in yourself. It took me a while. I really felt like I knew this industry pretty well. I was very proud of what we did at all angles. I think in hindsight, I wish I would have left on my own sooner. Not to say that I'm not proud of what we did and what we had going on there. I just, in hindsight, might have been further along than I am now. At that time, I really thought 40 was too old to start a business. Not at all, not in any way, shape, or form. I still feel like the young guy in the room a lot of times, even though I'm not. There's many people that have very successful businesses that are way younger than I am. But in my mind, I still feel like I'm young in the business. So I'd say believe in yourself, believe in your team, be patient, and then hire before you're ready.
Great insights. Absolutely. I have one final question to
Yep.
wrap this up with. So, when you think about the collision repair industry 10 years from now, what kind of leader do you believe it's going to require, and how are you becoming that leader today?
It's a big responsibility and it should be taken very seriously. I'm blessed to have a team that trusts me, and that's important. I never want to jeopardize that trust. I must honor the commitment that I've made to them as they're making a commitment to me. Maybe it's move, maybe it's just change jobs, maybe it's a different role, or I'm not sure about this team pay stuff. They're making a commitment, they're making a change, and I think it's very important that we as leaders understand the responsibility that we have, that we take it very, very seriously as I do, and then really just honor our commitment to the person that's joining our team. Now, it doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable. It doesn't mean that we don't say what needs to be said. It doesn't mean that we don't occasionally get in their kitchen about you're not meeting the expectation, but I will honor my word to you of providing a place where you feel valued and well compensated. I will honor that. I'm asking that you honor to own your role and bring your best every day. Doesn't mean we don't have a bad day. Doesn't mean we don't stuff doesn't happen. But over, are you bringing your best for our team, for our customers, for our community every day?
Very good answer. Ken, this has been powerful. Your journey from parts counter, now building a multi shop operation. Thank you very much for coming on today.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, to our listeners, if this episode inspired you to lead, build, and think bigger about your shop's future, that's the mission. Thanks for listening to Body Shop Leaders, powered by Body Shop Marketing, helping collision shops grow smarter. If you've enjoyed today's episode, share it with a fellow leader and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.